I don't know what I was expecting from my trip to Palestine, but I certainly did not expect to walk away with racial tensions between myself and the Black people in our group. And that's really disappointing for me to admit, because I was so excited to go on this trip with Black Americans, because I was always under the impression that Black people will be our greatest allies because they understand more than anybody what it's like to live under occupation, what it's like to be oppressed and racially profiled.
Oh, it's so funny that you said that, because I've just gone through your page and it looks like you haven't talked about Congo, Sudan, or any other genocide apart from Palestine. I'm actually starting to get very sick and tired of some of you lot's elitist attitude. I don't know who the hell you're talking to. Acknowledging the struggles of Black Americans or Black people throughout the diaspora altogether is absolutely possible, whilst also acknowledging the struggles of the Palestinian plight. Why is that so difficult for someone like you to comprehend in that brain of yours? Is it pea-sized? You made a 20-part series attacking the Black community as if we are the ones that you should be fighting right now. Are you absolutely drunk off your head? We aren't the ones that said that Gaza needs to be turned into a resort. Actually, if my mind serves me correctly, it's the people that look like me that actually voted for the person that said the opposite of that. Where is this energy for the people that actually voted for this man in power? Where is this energy for the people that are still refusing to even speak about Palestine, let alone boycott the boycotted establishments? Instead, you guys want to fight so loudly against the people that fought for your cause the most. Do you understand the concept of shooting yourself in the foot? Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. Listen clearly and open your ears, because I'm only going to say this once. If you continue this attitude, you're only going to have yourselves to blame, and unfortunately, the Palestinians are going to be the ones to bear the unfortunate brunt of that. And when that happens, that'll be your fault. You'll be the one to blame, not the African Americans and not the Black people that have been the loudest advocates globally besides the Palestinians themselves with regards to this issue.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about Black Americans reacting to a white woman telling them to stop playing Operation Olympics. What happens when a plea for unity becomes a demand for silence? When solidarity is wielded like a weapon to shame one group for speaking their truth? Recently, a TikTok creator at HebaTalks called out a group of Black Americans who traveled to Palestine to stand with the oppressed of playing Operation Olympics. Instead of honoring their courage, she told them they must set aside their feelings when experiencing oppression from Palestinians, because Palestinians are actively going through a genocide. That moment cuts deeper than any slap, because it tells Black people their pain only matters if someone else says it's acceptable. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing, because it helps YouTube recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few videos on this matter and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
But during the trip, it felt like some people were too busy playing Oppression Olympics to fully grasp the experiences of Palestinians living in Palestine. Some people came on the trip with a very limited understanding of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause, which is problematic in and of itself. But the most problematic thing was the fact that some people were applying a Western lens of racial dynamics to a place where it does not apply.
Anti-Blackness is everywhere in the world, so you're really just going to have to get over it. And you Black people are just too stupid and dumb to understand how race works in other countries, so you can't apply it to everywhere. That's a crazy sentiment, but you know what? It has taught me you all are too used to seeing Black people across the diaspora in roles of servitude. I really should say slavery, but servitude will do for this. It's very obvious in the way that you guys talk to and about us, and the way you guys will agree with people being completely racist, because you guys really enjoy and hold on and cling to like white supremacist tactics. You literally hold on to the very things that have caused the atrocities that you are campaigning against. And I need you guys to understand that as long as you're racist or anti-Black, you are never, ever going to succeed at liberation. Never, 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 never. And it should be obvious by now. And if right now all you have to talk about is Kamala and Black Americans, I think you were always a grifter.
I don't know what I was expecting from my trip to Palestine, but I certainly did not.
I don't believe a single word coming out of this woman's mouth. Not a single word. Unless we can hear from the Black people involved, I do not care. Where are the Black people involved? Where are these Black people that you're talking about? Where are they? It's been days. Where are the Black people involved? Listen, I'm not sure if I missed anything about this story because I haven't seen a single black person involved in that situation come forward and talk about it. So I'm trying to understand, why exactly did you feel the need to put this story out? Why? Let me just remind everybody that nobody knew about this story. She's the first person to come forward and talk about it. Not a single black person involved in that situation came out to talk about this. Why exactly did this woman feel the need to put this story out? Why? It's not like she got called out and she's out here defending herself. No, something ain't right. This whole thing is fishy. I have a strong feeling that this story is way worse than she is telling it. Listening to her version of the story, I can only say this. Either the story is way worse than she's telling it, or this whole thing is made up.
And for you to go on your platform and say, black people are our best allies because they understand oppression, they understand what it's like to be oppressed, things of that nature. You know what else black people understand? Fakeness. We understand when you are faking and being an activist, when you're really just using this for clout and you're using black people as a platform in order to boost yourself up, right? Whether the story's real or not, it makes no damn difference. Right? To go on your platform and to tell black people to set aside racial tensions in order to help other people is nothing but white supremacy. That's nothing but white supremacy.
There is no requirement to be anti-black in order to be pro-Palestinian. In fact, being anti-black in pro-Palestinian movements is counterintuitive to Palestinian liberation and to collective liberation, as there are black Palestinians. The way that y'all will lie in order to justify anti-blackness really needs to be studied, because there's no fucking way that on a religious trip this woman was on for Muslims, that the black people on that trip were not also Muslim. Okay, unless it was like some kind of shared religious experience. I don't know. She's conveniently omitting that information and nobody's questioning that.
You can go. Consider yourself pushed.
Black Americans have every right to call out anti-blackness, whether it happens in Ferguson or Gaza. Wait. So you know anti-blackness is global and a big problem, but you're expecting said black people to disregard the anti-blackness they received? You don't want allyship. You want mules. If people are truly committed to justice, they must reject any demand that one form of suffering be pitted against another. When someone expects black Americans should set aside their feelings, they're demanding that centuries of trauma vanish on command. You can easily identify attempts of divide. When some people don't like solidarity across cultures, they will amplify any instance of racism from either side. In this case, Heba is just trying to cause more divisions by weaponizing race. Oppressed people should be supported. Every time one group's suffering is used to silence another's, guys inch closer to a world where empathy is rationed, parceled out only to those deemed worthy. Heba says this wasn't a volunteer trip. It was a religious pilgrimage with other tours sprinkled in, that they went for spiritual purposes and that most went for free. It doesn't matter what they went for. As long as there was oppression, people had the right to speak up. These black Americans were facing racist slurs from people they came to help, and yet they were told their outrage was unfounded because someone else's suffering trumps theirs. I haven't seen one black person from that trip talk about it. Their voices have been drowned out by outsiders lecturing them on humility. No, their voices matter. Every time we dismiss a person's lived experience, we reinforce the very structures that enable hate. If we truly stand for justice, we amplify those voices, not silence them. In the Arab world, anti-blackness runs deep. There is a history of anti-blackness that people should be aware of. That history isn't hidden. It's woven into the fabric of societies. When we speak of solidarities, we must acknowledge that some Palestinians harbor prejudices as old as colonial borders. To ignore it is to pretend racism is an isolated phenomenon rather than a global scourge. I've heard that black Palestinians face segregation in Palestine and face harsh discrimination. So you want to tell me Afro-Palestinian actress like Mariam Abu Khalid, who made a video about the racism she and her community endured in Palestine, is lying about her experience?
Some of y'all might remember that I said that I think that Heba might be lying, but I wasn't sure because I couldn't prove it. And the only thing that I could be sure of is that she's anti-black and was definitely stirring up the racist rhetoric. So to find out that this was a paid religious trip it's not surprising. But it does make everything worse because it really just proves that the suspicions were true, where she made that video knowing that the racism and anti-Blackness was going to ramp up and she was going to get to engage in it. And for the people that are like, see, it's the CIA or somebody trying to cause division between, you know, Palestinians and Black Americans, babes, the only way that they could do that is if you give them the opening. It would never be on the people experiencing the racism and anti-Blackness to close that gap. You have to do it. And so the only reason that they would be using it is because you guys keep leaving the door open. So before y'all come in here and be like, see, you're being played. No, you're being played. We're fine. You're being played. Stop the anti-Blackness, stop the racism, and then they can't cause division.
You are lucky that you were able to cobble together a group of Black people to go on that trip in the first place. After you nonsense, never Kamala, vote for Kamala as a vote for genocide people shows your asses last November. Okay? Also, I don't believe you. I don't believe the beggars asking for money incident is the only instance of racism that they experience. I believe it's the most innocuous one that you strategically picked to minimize their concerns. Okay?
Grandma used to always tell me, if the story doesn't make sense, then it's definitely a lie. So there's things missing in context in her whole story. But instead of actually listening to Black people, because Black people do not claim racism for no reason. Contrary to what you've all been socialized to believe, if a Black person says that someone is racist, they actually have experienced racism. The anti-Blackness that exists within the Arab community is loud. It's always been loud. This is the same issue we had when this conflict started, where people lack the ability to understand more than one thing can be true, and intersectionality is real. Black people can absolutely stand up for what they believe in and prioritize ourselves first as an oppressed group and still support others. Black people are not going to conform and just accept racism. And you're asking people to just accept how they're treated, and they should have been quiet about how they're treated.
Heba's phrasing of they are Black and yet they are highly respected tells me all I need to know. Respect should never be conditional. When someone marvels that a Black person can be respected, they reveal their own low expectations, and that is the real insult. We must reject any framing that suggests dignity is something to be conferred by the powerful rather than a right. So let me get this straight. You hear the Black people that weren't there to help experiencing racism, but the people that they went to help, and you say Operation Olympics? What an absolutely stupid take. You expect them to accept your racism because you are suffering? Your suffering doesn't give you a free pass to be a horrible person. These people risked their lives to show up, and when they finally did, they became targets of racist slurs. Instead of gratitude, they were met with condemnation for daring to speak up. Also, why this whole thing sounds suspect is guys are questioning how did they even get to Gaza in the first place. It is heavily blockaded right now. Heba just admitted her own anti-Blackness. A good place for her to start is self-evaluating. You can't ask for/expect Black people to help you and not be aware of the injustices they experience. If you want solidarity, you must first practice humility. Empathy cannot be selective. It cannot be doled out based on who's suffering more. True liberation demands that people hold space for every heart, every scar, every voice crying out for dignity. So the Black people are supposed to accept discrimination? That's the suggestion? That moment of shame when someone says you should have stayed silent for the greater good is precisely what dismantles solidarity. It says that some oppression is more valid, some pain more deserving, but oppression is oppression, and it deserves to be named, and named loudly, each and every time.
Now, with the history of anti-Blackness within the Arab community, slavery within the Arab community with Black people, the way they treat Black people in the region and domestically in America, rightfully so, a Black person would have preconceived notions about how Arabs treat us. But when that's reinforced by the actual treatment of racism towards us, we're going to say it out loud. And you're asking people to just accept how they're treated, and they should have been quiet about how they're treated. Come on, let's be fucking for real right now. Two things can be true, and the fact that people don't understand this concept blows my mind. Palestinians can absolutely be occupied, can absolutely live under oppression, and Black people can absolutely be one of the most hated groups of people in the world, no matter where we are.
When she dropped the term Operation Olympics, I was stunned. Truly, I couldn't believe those are the words she chose to use to frame Black Americans' very real encounters with racist slurs as if they were competing for sympathy shows just how uninformed and frankly, how dismissive she is. It reduces a century of systemic brutality into a callous game, as though acknowledging one injustice somehow erases another. That kind of rhetoric doesn't build bridges, it burns them, forcing wounded communities to silence their pain for the sake of false unity. If solidarity means anything, it must mean holding space for all all suffering, not ranking it. In this moment, Black people have a choice. They can let demands for silence chip away at their collective strength, or they can just reject the false binary of your pain versus my pain. They can choose to stand together, even when it is uncomfortable, because solidarity isn't about comfort, it's about justice. And justice demands that every voice be heard, that every wound be tended, and that every story be honored. There needs to be solidarity between oppressed communities. If people are truly committed to liberation, they can support Palestinians facing genocide and also defend Black Americans facing racism in those very same streets. Liberation is only real when it is universal. At the end of the day, real solidarity isn't about scoring points or proving who suffers more. It's about standing together shoulder to shoulder, even when it's uncomfortable. When people refuse to rank trauma and instead hold space for every story, they forge bonds that no tactic of division can break. It's all on us to challenge dismissive rhetoric like Operation Olympics, to call out ignorance wherever it hides, and to insist that every voice, whether from Ferguson or Gaza, deserves to be heard and honored.
Heba, quick question. Where exactly were you in Palestine when this happened? Because I know how hard it is to get aid in and out of the country right now. Heba's whole story doesn't make sense to me, and it's just another example of racist bias within the Palestinian community. I'm gonna need you guys to stop bringing up our civil rights leaders in order to strong-arm us into activism. Did you guys know that one of the last things that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X talked about in their speeches before they were murdered by our government was the importance of Black solidarity? Heba either didn't know this or she cherry-picked what she wanted to take out of Malcolm X's mouth. It's very important for oppressed groups to have solidarity with each other, but only when there's mutual respect. All you did with your video, Heba, was confirm the racial biases within Palestine. Accounts like Heba's and many others have done nothing but erode the solidarity that we've had since the 60s. You guys have done nothing for the past year except for gaslight Black people about how they choose to participate in this oppressive system. If you guys truly want solidarity amongst our communities again, then you need to check the anti-Blackness within your own community. Stop policing Black people and the way they choose to react toward racism, because if you work on just those two things, I'm pretty sure that the problems between our communities will evaporate.
So what do you all think? Do you think Heba got it wrong when she dismissed Black Americans' experiences as Operation Olympics? Have you ever witnessed attempts to silence one community by amplifying another's pain? And more importantly, what steps can people take to build true intersectional solidarity across cultures and causes? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video about MAGA farmers crying out about losing their beef and soybean markets. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, the Joy Report out.